Hey gang, how you doing? Happy Friday. Today we're going to be talking about calming canines because this is probably the thing that I get asked most about for using essential oils and for consultations. So I'm Dr. Helen and I'm an A&E doctor and an advocate for integrative wellness and also an animal aromatherapy specialist. So I love to use essential oils to support the health and well-being of myself and my pets and help educate people to do the same for their family, whether that's human or animal. So if you like what you're listening to, please hit the subscribe button or follow so I can carry on creating more content. And let me know in the comments what you would like to know about. Would you like to get essential oils into your life? Why not book in for a free chat with me or come to one of my classes to find out how oils can support you or your family? Or maybe you've got oils but you don't know how to use them best for yourself or your pets. That's okay, because I can do general overviews or consultations depending on your needs. So just drop me a message and we can chat and find out what the best option is for you. So let me turn my music off. Calming canines. So there's so many reasons why you might want to calm your dog. It might be that they're anxious. They could be reactive. They can be reactive because they're anxious. They may have canine cognitive dysfunction. They may have separation anxiety. There could be anxiety because they're traveling in a car. So many different reasons. And how you use essential oils with them, to a large extent, is going to depend on the reason behind why they're anxious in the first place. And I think this is one of the reasons where a lot of people struggle with natural remedies to support their dogs with anxiety, is they think it is a one-size-fits-all. And there's certain products that are marketed in that way, that you do this, everything's going to be fine. But it isn't as simple as that. And it not only needs consistency in approach, but it also needs to be done in conjunction with behavior and modifications as well, so that you can get that benefit. Now, interestingly, a lot of the natural remedies that are around to support our dogs actually are lavender based. And did you know 50% of dogs don't actually like lavender? So them not liking that particular product that you got to support their anxiety may make you think, oh, they don't like essential oils, but actually it's they didn't like lavender. Now, lavender is actually one of the most adulterated oils in the world as well. So it's quite possible that it actually isn't a pure lavender anyway. And so the dog's actually objecting to whatever it's adulterated with. Now, the other thing that's really interesting is if you look on oils, this is a little pro tip for you, and you're looking on lavender oil and it says something like do not use in children or babies or children under 3 or pregnant women, don't be using that on your pets because that's not pure, because pure lavender can be used in those groups. And if it's saying that you shouldn't use it, you've got to sort of think, well, why, what's wrong with that oil? But there's so many different ways of using oils to support your dogs with their anxiety. So it may be that you want to diffuse it, you may apply it topically or even internally if the oils that you're using are suitable. So I sell doTERRA oils because many of those are suitable for internal use. And it's all about being consistent with it. So when I do plans for people, I will write them down how to use them, and there will be several options there for changing the dilutions and changing the frequency, and then we will have a follow-up and we might need to tweak this, tweak that. So it isn't just do this and everything's going to be magic. And I will give some behavior advice. I'm training to be a behaviorist. I'm not a behaviorist, but if you need more significant behavior advice, I reckon there's several people I can recommend you to. And also, I know behaviorists actually recommend people to me as well to use essential oils to support their training with their dogs as well. So the key is really you've got to choose the right oils. You might want to do some self-selection. Now, I'm not a purist with self-selection. This is obviously when you offer the oil to the dog to see whether they like it. I'm not a purist because sometimes I think we need to advocate for our dogs, and it is difficult sometimes. So if you're doing some self-selection with your dogs for separation anxiety, it's not going to really be effective because you're there with them. So what they actually need in the moment isn't necessarily what they may select. So I think we have to be a little bit sort of like, sort of a bit of an advocate for them, really. And then using the oils. Now, when you use oils internally, the dog has the 2 ways that they get a benefit from them, the same as with humans. Firstly, we've got the odor memory. So there's all things that we know that we like the smell of. Baked bread, beautiful, isn't it? Smell of vomit, not so good. Although dogs probably do really like that, don't they? They sort of like find vomit that someone's left or something, or poo or whatever. but you know, they will have their likes and their dislikes that they like the smell. And so we can associate, so that's an odor memory, and we can use that. So for example, my boy Maz, who doesn't like traveling in a vehicle, he has a particular blend applied to his bed at night that I then spray in the vehicle, so that he then gets in my van, and the memory is actually of being curled up in bed in my bedroom and being really chilled and relaxed. And so then you get that association, and so he starts to relax. Now, the other way they work as well is at the side of the olfactory bulbs. We inhale the oil, or the dog inhales the oil, or the cat inhales the oil, and you have lots of blood vessels running there. And so you get this, they inhale it, and then the small molecules get taken up by the blood vessels, and they can actually, many of them can actually cross the blood-brain barrier and go directly into the limbic system, which is where we process emotions. So we get this systemic benefit, and this is hugely powerful. So that even if the dog doesn't like the oil, they're still getting that therapeutic benefit, which is why I will often suggest that you just use them anyway, depending on what it is. So you get that. And so you will always want to be starting off using the oils when your dog is calm, because you want to promote that odor memory and not just use them when they're agitated. So you don't want to, what I've been saying as well, like for fireworks night, you don't just start training for fireworks night a week before fireworks night. It needs to be months in advance. I spent months getting my blind dog used to it. Months. Fireworks night came, her first fireworks night, absolutely fine. I actually even did a live video, and she is scared of bangs. Okay, she is very, very noise sensitive, but it was just the consistency of the approach and doing it slowly and surely and building up. So the other way to do it as well is obviously apply them topically, because we can get the systemic benefits. So just at the base of the skull, they've got all the blood vessels that are running up there. So that's a really great place to pop some oils, and at the tail, and then you're getting all that that benefit throughout the spine, and also obviously on the ears as well, because the blood vessels are close to the surface and in the thigh, so they can actually really get the topical absorption there, and that can really support them. So I will do that. And also it's applying it several times a day. So the hair will actually act as an auto diffuser. So I was just doing a live in one of my private groups about using oils to support the musculoskeletal system of one of my dogs. And I only generally apply her oils for that once. But for one of my other dogs who is quite anxious, she will actually have oils applied several times a day. So it really does vary on what is needed. My dog that is anxious in going in the vehicle, he just needs them before we go in the vehicle, you know. So it really does depend. And like I said, the hair can act as an auto diffuser as well. So even if you just put a little bit on the chest, they're still getting that benefit there as well. And then internally, so when we give oils internally, we are also getting systemic benefits. So oils that are great to support the emotions are things like papaver, because it works on the endocannabinoid system, and DDR prime, because they are so chock full of antioxidants, and we need antioxidants to promote BDNF, which is brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which helps with neuroplasticity and creating new neural pathways, which is what we're ultimately trying to do with our anxious pets, because they have a particular thing that is causing them anxiety, and we need to change that behavior. So imagine being in a field and there's a path around the edge of it, and all the grass is worn down, and you want to build a new path. Well, you don't just walk across it once and expect that path to be there, do you? You walk across it a lot. So you have to keep changing that behavior. So for example, my dog Seren, she just jumps at my patio doors when she goes out, jump, 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 excited for a walk, jump, 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 jump. And what's this actually caused is it's caused my daughter to buckle a bit, quite frankly. So anyway, I was like, I've really got to retrain this. Okay, so the first few times I was getting her to sit at the door. The first few times she's jumping, sitting, jumping, sitting, jumping, and you've just got to wait it out, to be honest. And then she sits, and then you open the door. And so I was working to change her default from jump, jump, jump to sit. And now I get to the door, I don't even have to ask her for a sit. She just sits, and then I open the door and she goes. And it's all about creating that new neural pathway. And that's what we want to do with those anxious dogs, the reactive dogs, you know, whatever it is that you're trying to train. So my dog Inca has done really well now. If we walked into the park, I did a video on it. It was amazing. But, you know, we have certain things that I do for her. So if I know someone's coming, because she can get a bit stressed with other dogs or people, I get her in the middle. She knows that it's her default position. She goes in the middle. She has treats for being in the middle. It helps keep her calm. And it's just some really useful little ways to work with anxious dogs. And then what I can also do, and I don't need to do it now, but at the start, I'd be putting oils on my trousers between my legs, so where she'd be standing by my knees, so she'd get that odor. So we have car park gates here. They're metal, and she didn't like the car park gates. We went out on a street walk, and so I would actually put her favourite oil, which at the time was rose oil, on the car park gate, so that instead of shying away from the gate, she actually doesn't like metal. She would go up to the gate, sniff it, recognise the smell of the oil, remember the odour memory, remember the therapeutic effects, and it would all be all right. And then she would move forward into out through the gate. Now, it is important to be consistent when you're doing anything, because it can take time for these things to change. I mean, you are not going to just change a behavior in a couple of days. It can take absolutely months. Last summer, I couldn't have taken my dog Inca on the walk I took her on last week, or the other day. It's probably taken me about 8 months to get her to that point. We were in the park, someone was playing a football against the fence, sirens went off on the Manchester Mancunian Way. And there was so many different things that a few months ago would have triggered her because of their cumulative effects, but she was absolutely steady. And it's taken consistency, and that's the key. It's about being consistent and keep doing it. And sometimes the change is so gradual, and it does help if you can track it, but sometimes the change is so gradual that you don't recognize that something's altered until you stop, and then you're like, oh, what's happened? So a really good example of this is my dog Serum, because she does this crazy spinning, and so I was like trying to do something to alter the spinning and get her to do a steady, so hand targeting. And when she used to hand target, she'd just be moving around all the time, and I really wanted to get her steady, and nothing had worked. I had actually tried meds, and I tried them for weeks and nothing changed. Anyway, so I started adding in the Capaba, and she was on Capaba for several months, and I thought, oh, I don't think this has worked. Really don't think it's worked, so I'm going to just stop. So stop the Capaba, and within 2 days the spinning started and the lack of steady. And I'd been such a small, subtle change over those periods of weeks to a couple of months that I'd actually not realised that she'd actually corrected the behaviour. So it's really is important if you write down perhaps some behaviours that you can actually have as a reference point and what they're doing, because it can be so subtle that you don't realise. And I stopped and was like, and within 2 days she was like, ooh, and I was like, oh my goodness, that did work. So immediately started it back up again, and then it took just a few days to get it back in the system and get it back. So it is all about consistency and tweaking as you go. So I actually don't use lavender much, because a lot of dogs don't like it in my canine kit. I tend to, unless I know that a dog's actually okay with lavender, I tend to recommend things like Balance Blend, which is a proprietary blend, but I absolutely love it, or along with Capaba and Vetiver. And so when you have a little 3 oils, you can make so many different dilutions with it, so many different variations, whether you put them in a diffuser, applying topically. Capaba and Vetiver can actually be used internally as well. So there's a whole host with it. If you get a pack of something like 3, you've got so many different variations that you can just tweak and tweak and tweak over time to find out what is optimal. It may be that you need to add in some extra oils, but it gives you a really good way to start with, and with a diffuser as well, because when you diffuse, you're diffusing at a constant level. They're getting the rate at a constant level, the aroma at a constant level, and it means that you can, instead of the peaks and troughs that you'll get when you give them it topically, they're getting it maintained. So it's a great adjunct to what you're also doing as well. So if you've got any questions or you want to know a bit more, drop me a message. If you'd like to book into a consultation or just want to ask about it, just drop me a message. Do pop to my website, whopawswins.co.uk, and have a read of my blog as well. And if you can hit the like button and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. If you can leave me a 5-star review, I would really appreciate it. And please share this to your stories as well, and I'll share the love back, because it just helps me to create more content the more followers I get and everything. So thank you so much, everyone. Stay safe, stay well, take care. Bye.